hope everyone is doing well. Today I want to talk about one-point perspective. What is perspective? According to Google Dictionary, perspective is, quote, the art of drawing solid objects on a two-dimensional surface so as to give the right impression of their height, width, depth, and position in relation to each other when viewed from a particular point. In other words, it is a strategy of drawing that helps the artist make a space appear more as it is in the real world. Artists have been depicting space for a long time, but more or less one-point perspective is credited to have appeared only about 600 years ago, during the Renaissance in Italy. Before that, there are drawings done in different kinds of perspective, especially in China, but we can discuss that in another video. Now, 600 years may seem like a long time, but considering that human beings have been making drawings for at least 44,000 years, 600 years ago is fairly recent. During the Italian Renaissance, artists were one-point perspective obsessed. It makes sense considering that artists in that time and place were often also working as architects, inventors, and sculptors. Of course, they would be interested in a form of drawing that depicted city life, very straight and narrow streets, and buildings. One-point perspective became one of the things that the Italian Renaissance became known for, and art students all over the world learned how to make things in one-point perspective. In this image, the Mexican muralist and painter Diego Rivera depicts the grandeur of an ancient Aztec city in one-point perspective. Rivera is a modern artist, meaning he's been working within the last 100 years, but he looked to older Western art history, as well as other traditions, to come up with some ideas about how to depict space. Most of my students have done some sort of one-point perspective drawing in the past to create an outdoor or exterior scene that has an illusion of depth. For this lesson, I want to show how one-point perspective can also be applied when depicting an interior scene. Today, I want to show you how to draw a simple room with some furniture in it. Alright, so for this tutorial, we'll need paper, pencil, eraser, ruler. If you don't have a ruler, you can find another straight edge, cardboard, like a thin piece of cardboard from a cereal box. And then also I have some other supplies around, like markers, Sharpies, just kind of like random pens. If you have these pencils that are the kind that you click, they're really great because they're always sharp, and they have a little eraser on the end, and they're fairly inexpensive, but a normal pencil like this is fine too. No, so the first thing we're going to do is draw the horizon line. The horizon line is a horizontal line, and it represents where the sky meets the earth. Of course, the sky doesn't actually get any closer to the earth, it's just an optical illusion. There's my horizon line. The next thing to do is to create a vanishing point. The vanishing point can be anywhere on the horizon line, but for beginner artists, I usually suggest that the vanishing point be around the center of the horizon line. Next step, we're going to draw a rectangle that is shorter vertically and longer horizontally. So I'm going to take my ruler and put it around 3 inches, and because I know I want a 6-inch line, so I'm going to do a 6-inch line where the 3 is the center. And then I'm going to go up maybe 4 inches. My lines aren't perfectly straight, but that's okay. I mean, a lot of times I don't use a ruler, and then I'll just kind of keep drawing the line over and over again until I get it somewhat straight. And it looks a little bit sketchy. And sketchy lines are okay. They're actually good. And it helps you learn how to draw a straight line. You kind of arrive at the straight line by drawing a sketchy line over and over again. So we have our rectangle, and this rectangle represents the back wall of our room. It's very hard to see from where we are in the drawing now, but that's what this rectangle represents. The four corners of the rectangle, or that back wall, represent the four corners of the room. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Starting from the vanishing point, make lines that pass through these four corners. So my ruler, I'm going to flip it around just so those numbers don't distract you. So my ruler is going at the vanishing point, and then it's passing through that corner. So I'm kind of doing a connect the dots thing where the vanishing point and the corner of that rectangle make a line. And I'm going to do it with all four corners. Sorry, I'm moving the paper too much. Okay. Now I'm going to get my eraser, and I'm going to erase the X that was created in the center on that wall. I'm going to keep the horizon line and vanishing point in here because if I make a window, I'm going to want to see that horizon line. And that might be confusing now, but I'll explain it a little bit more later. So I'm just erasing those lines, but just inside the rectangle. Now we have kind of a box thing, right? We have this and this and this, and this represents the floor of our room. Here's the back wall, here's the ceiling, and here's the two side walls. And you notice they go inward like this because they're receding back into space. An awkward thing about teaching this lesson is the majority of the lines you draw are going to be diagonal and go back to the vanishing point. But the lines you are looking straight at are not diagonal. This usually makes more sense when you're doing a drawing than when it is being explained, so keep practicing and you will get it. I will use this principle over and over again while creating this drawing and when I add objects to the room that are also in perspective. Periodically, I will erase some of the lines that were guidelines and are not really in the room. So let's first create a door for the room. So what I'm going to do for a door is I'm going to start a line that is going to the vanishing point. So I'm taking my ruler and I'm going to draw a line starting on that side wall, and then that is the top of the door. So then next thing I'm going to do is make some parallel lines and there we have a doorway there, right? So I'm going to go ahead and erase the horizon line that's over here and here. And I'm going to erase the horizon line that's on this wall too. And this wall is not going to have a door. Now, I accidentally erased a little bit of the door line, so I'm just going to replace that. And I see a little bit that needs to be erased right there. Okay, so I was talking a second ago about some lines have to be straight. So the doorway will have some straight lines, right? This line and this line are representing something that you're looking at straight. And then this line here will go to the horizon line. And it's a matter of trial and error of when you'll kind of understand what needs to go to the horizon line and what doesn't. So I have a doorway here, right? So we have a wall and a doorway. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, I think I want a window here on this back wall. So I'm going to draw a square for a window. I'm going to take my ruler and draw a rectangle. I made a straight line that leads me to a rectangle. So this is why I kept the horizon line and vanishing point on that back wall, is because I wanted to be able to make a window where you would actually be able to see out of it and see the horizon line still. But since this wall is not made out of glass, I'm going to erase the rest of the horizon line. And let's see. If I wanted to make the window 3D, I'll just draw, going to the horizon line, some little diagonals, and they're not that long. But they give some depth. You can use a ruler here if you want, but it gives some depth, like the window is going outward. So there I have a window, I have a doorway. Unfortunately, I didn't draw a door, but it's okay. Some apartments and houses have spaces that don't have doors in them. So that's just the case with my picture here. Now I think I want to draw some kind of dresser or some kind of table that's in this room. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to that horizon line, and I'm going to draw some diagonals, and let's draw 2 diagonals. Remember, I'm always making sure that I can still see that vanishing point. Okay, and then I'm going to draw some horizontals, right? So here's one horizontal, here's another horizontal, and I can erase these lines now. Then I'm going to draw some vertical lines that give me some points. And I know that I have to go back. Anytime I'm making a diagonal, I know I have to go back to the vanishing point. Okay, it's kind of a tabletop. And then I'm going to draw some lines that are parallel. And some vertical lines that are parallel. Now, a tricky thing is that to finish these table legs and to make them 3D, I have to return to the vanishing point. So I'm going to put one little diagonal here, one little diagonal here. Oops. And then I'm going to also make some verticals going up. And there's also needs to be a table leg over here, so let's go back. So now I have a table with 4 legs in this room. What else can I put in here? How about a bed? So the bed will be in the center of the room. So I'm going to draw the base of the bed here. And again, that gives me 2 points to connect to the vanishing point. So to put the bed in perspective, I'm going to draw it. I come to about here. And then I'm going to draw it again over here. And I'm connecting that dot at the end of the bed with the vanishing point. So there we go. It needs to be a little bit longer. I think it needs to be just a little bit longer over here. And then I connect another vertical line. I'm sorry, another horizontal line. And then some lines that go straight down. Remember, when you're looking at something straight, it's not going to go to the vanishing point. It's just going to go straight up and down. So there we go. I think I want to put a pillow. Even the pillow will go to the vanishing point, but a pillow is softer, so it doesn't have to be like a perfectly straight line. A nice big pillow on the bed. And then some feet that I first draw straight up and down. But then I go back to the vanishing point and just draw a tiny diagonal and a tiny diagonal. And then some lines that are parallel. This line here is the base of it's where the floor and the back wall meet, so I have to erase that. And now I can erase some of the guidelines that I don't need. It's always okay to leave a little bit of guidelines, especially in something that's like a practice drawing, because we're just practicing perspective right now. Draw a little indication of a blanket back there. And maybe draw the blanket. The blanket is not perfect on this bed, so it's hanging down off the bed a little bit. It's coming around the edge. Maybe that means I can lightly erase this line, but leave a little bit of the line so you can still see that the blanket is folded off the bed. This person did not make their bed in the morning. Okay, now I have the basics of a room. If I wanted, I could put a painting on this wall, or I could put a window on this wall. Let's put a painting so you can see what the difference is between when it's going out, like a window, or when it's popping off the wall, like a painting. So let's put a painting or a picture or something on this wall. First thing I'm going to do is, I know it's got to be on this wall, so I'm not going to put any lines over here. I'm just going to put a small line here, and then I'm going to put another small line up here, and I'm using the vanishing point as my anchor. And then I'm going to come up and come up again, and that's pretty much all you need. If the painting pops off a little bit, I'll put a little bit of a straight line there and there, and I'll erase the edges. And I don't know, it can be like a kind of funky abstract painting. It can have whatever it wants on it. It's like one of those Jackson Pollocks that are real drippy. Drip, 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 drip. Okay. Now, outside, maybe I want to have some mountains on the horizon line. And gotta make sure I fix some of the stuff that I accidentally erased. And you pretty much got the interior of a room now. It's always good to go back and darken some of your lines. Look over here. I really should erase those, and look around at the end now to erase lines that you really don't need, like this isn't a glass table, it's a wooden table, so I know I don't need those. Just going to darken up some of these lines. Always remember to start off light. I tend to draw a little dark when I'm making a YouTube video because if I draw really light, it becomes hard to see. Then there's all kinds of things you can do once you have a basic room. You can add plants, or you can add color, you can add shading, you can add different kinds of texture, you can add other types of furniture. If you're careful, you can make some really sophisticated things.